We've made it to Santa Barbara, and now we've stopped here to grab a bite. And my old friend has arrived. How long has it been since we last saw each other?
At least a couple of years.
Couple of years? Yeah. It's been a couple of years since we last met. A long time ago, we first met in Sosua. Those were our first projects. Maxim. First of all, in Sosua, he has a development company. They build villas and apartments. That's Española. And he's also the owner of a juice manufacturing company. That company is called Vera Food Lab. So how long have you been living here now?
Almost 20 years.
Maxim has been living in the Dominican Republic for almost 20 years. So basically, he's a local now.
I really am definitely a local, as they say, aplatanado.
Most of your life is already connected to the Dominican Republic. So tell us, how did you end up here in the first place?
Well, I came here to work on Hispaniola, that is to do real estate development, business, and that's how it all started. Then, little by little, we grew, and eventually we founded our own juice production company.
Why juice? How did that idea come about?
We looked at what is unique here. And in reality, Dominican fruits are truly unique compared to everything else.
Of course, they're insanely cheap.
Well, I wouldn't say they're cheap, especially now, but here it's just the quality of the fruits themselves. Well, I mean, it's really, truly, absolutely, incredibly, so much better than
natural.
Yes, it's the natural qualities of the local fruits and vegetables. They are much better than in many places around the world. Maybe we can be compared to 2 or 3 other countries, but in reality, the Dominican Republic is truly excellent.
So you grow these fruits yourselves, right? And
yes. Now we've gone into vertical integration. Now we've started growing. We grow passion fruit, we grow watermelons, we grow hot peppers, we grow mangoes. And accordingly,
a large range of raw juices?
Yes, but not that large. In reality, it's 5 or 6 we sort of specialize.
As far as I remember, from what I can recall, you don't simply just squeeze the juice and then bottle it right away. It's like pulp, right?
Yes, we make pulp. That is, we remove the skin and the seeds, and what you get is a natural product.
Let me explain for our viewers who don't know what pulp is. It's a very interesting product. It's made from fruit. Well, it's pressed, and you get this kind of mass, right? And it's frozen at a very low temperature. So it's basically frozen natural juice. And when you want to drink it, you just defrost it, pour it into a blender.
Yes.
Blend it with water as much as you like to taste. And this technology allows you to preserve all the beneficial substances in the pulp.
All the properties? Yes.
All the vitamins. Unfortunately, here in Canada, for some reason, this isn't very developed. But all of South America lives on it. It's very popular here. How's the business going? Is it growing?
It's growing. Here I am saying now they have started another finished thing. A finca is a plantation. So we are growing gradually, diversifying.
And your sales, are they for the domestic market or for export?
No, it's all for export. Right now, it's practically 100% export. At the moment, we mainly sell to the USA.
Americans are buying as much as possible.
Americans take everything, yes. There was a time not so long ago when we sold a significant amount of goods and products to Europe. In fact, we even received a special recognition and award for our dedicated efforts in developing trade relations between the EU and the Dominican Republic, which was formally presented to us by the European Union accordingly. And but at the moment, the American market is by far the most dynamic, the most interesting of all.
And what would you personally say is actually more difficult in your own experience? So as I understand it, you have certain regular buyers for your product, and you also have a certain production volume. So is it particularly hard to find people who want your product, or is it perhaps even more challenging? Are there even more people who want it? Or
right now, the problem is that it's harder to produce, because after COVID, the prices for agricultural land have actually increased 4 or 5 times. And that's why the price of fruit has gone up. So producing at reasonable prices is not so easy right now. We look for different approaches, negotiate with suppliers, grow some ourselves, and that's what allows us to keep operating.
To keep the price at which?
Yes, at which we remain competitive with others. But in reality, when I talk about quality, what I can be proud of is that most of our clients say they're willing to pay us a 20% margin, noting that our quality, again, thanks to the properties of Dominican fruits, is higher than that of our competitors. We say this everywhere in the world.
So you have a full production cycle from growing to making this pulp and selling it. So everything is in one place. Or do you use third-party companies?
We mainly work B2B. I mean, we grow, we provide this pulp, we deliver it to the client, and then the clients themselves bottle, package, mix, and do whatever else is needed.
So packaging is not your responsibility?
Not yet. Maybe we'll get into that soon, but for now, not yet.
Listen, there's an interesting point about how Abinader has made big changes in the Dominican Republic recently. In the Dominican Republic, over the past 4 years, there have been so many changes that I can barely keep up with them. First of all, things are just changing. You need to go to Sosua and see what's changed there. Yeah, I've been there. Punta Cana has changed. Right now, we're here in Las Terrenas, and everyone who lives here says that if you had been here 5 years ago, it would be a completely different town. Everything has changed. And no, here are some of the latest news. So, Abinader has gotten very serious about illegal workers, about the Haitians. This happened after the meeting with Marco Rubio. When he came in February, and how much do you think this will increase the cost price? Because, as I understand it, legalizing Haitians isn't that simple, right?
It is possible to legalize them. It's not that easy. But in reality, yes, it will increase the cost price. This will create problems with qualified labor because in reality, there are staffing issues here. Dominicans themselves, as a rule, don't want to do hard physical labor such as construction or agriculture. And accordingly, yes, this will lead to problems in these sectors.
On the other hand, usually when the cost of labor goes up, it's actually progress in the sense that people who run businesses start looking for more mechanized production processes. Or in your business, do you still need?
No, of course, as a rule, we consistently make every possible effort to automate production, both at the factory itself and also both on the plantations. That's really how it is. But you still need people, of course. I mean, as I mentioned before, as you probably know, it's actually very hard and sometimes even quite challenging to find truly good and reliable workers among Dominicans. Dominicans understandably want to earn more. So it's the Haitians who provide most of the labor on the farms and construction sites. Right now, they accept lower wages, but if they get pressured, they'll leave. Then accordingly, the production cost of all these goods will go up. And in particular, I'm worried about agriculture because, as I already mentioned, the price of land has increased. A lot of land is being converted for development, for construction, or for other purposes.
There's a construction boom happening everywhere right now.
They're building everywhere? Yes, they're building everywhere. And that's why agriculture might be pushed out, even though it's a very significant source of income for the Dominican Republic.
Well, it will probably also affect if we're talking about the minimum wage that was just introduced. Yes, it has gone up. So this will also impact the construction business.
Well, it's not just the minimum wage, although that does matter too. But the issue is that those same Haitians are leaving, and as a result, there aren't enough available workers while there are a lot of construction projects. So that's the main problem.
Why are they leaving? Is it because they're being caught?
They're being caught. And the immigration authorities are working, especially, as I understand it, this problem is even bigger, not here, but in Punta Cana, as far as I know.
In Punta Cana, they've actually just put everything in order. These serious statements about poverty were made literally 2 weeks ago. So it's still unclear how all of this will work out. But developers there were given just 2 months to get everything in order. After that, if they're caught with illegal workers, the fines are catastrophically high.
Yes, I think it was just recently, today or in the past few days, that he increased the fines for companies that use illegal labor. That's absolutely right.
So in any case, this will increase. It should increase the cost of construction and by quite a bit.
I'm saying the issue here isn't just the cost price. That's one aspect. The second aspect is simply that there are no workers. There aren't enough laborers.
When there's a shortage, that also drives costs up. First of all, wages have gone up. And when there aren't enough specialists, that inevitably leads to higher wages.
First of all, deadlines get extended, so other problems arise. So in my opinion, this is a mistaken decision.
So you don't support it?
I don't support it.
On the other hand, they're kind of trying to bring the country in line, with global standards so that there are no under-the-table salaries, that everything is paid properly, that taxes are paid. That's kind of well.
No, there's absolutely no question about that. Like building a wall on the border, for example. Yes, of course, that's necessary. But you just need to do all of this wisely. You need to approach all this in more detail, especially in sectors that are sensitive to such changes.
Maybe some changes can be made. We'll see. Time right now, everything is just changing instantly. Maxim, I want to ask you, so you've lived here for 20 years. We ask this question to almost everyone we interview. What are the three, first of all, when you first arrived here, did you immediately want to stay? Or did the desire come late?
Over time, of course, at first I didn't plan to stay here. But pretty quickly I realized that when you live here, there are always some problems, some things of your own. But when you leave this place, you just don't want to leave. You simply don't want to.
I understand you very well. I come here, unfortunately, I come very often now, but only for short periods. And every time I just don't want to go back to Toronto.
In reality, that's,
Even though I love Toronto,
among my friends, there are a lot of people who first came here for a week, then for a week every 6 months, and then more and more often, and eventually they move here and stay.
what are the three things that you personally and in your opinion like most about America?
Well, the main thing, in my opinion, I personally think is the friendliness of the Dominicans, the local people.
You honestly haven't really surprised me here, to be honest, because everyone always answers this question in exactly the same way. That's the first thing people like the most.
Because I've traveled the world. I've lived in Italy, for example. I've lived in the Netherlands. And I've traveled around quite a bit, in fact. I even lived and could have stayed to work in the United States. But here, I actually like the people more and more.
Okay. Besides the people, besides socializing, what else?
Well, look, take the same city of Sosua, for example. It's not very big, but it has all the infrastructure. There are schools, banks, hospitals, supermarkets, and plenty of restaurants. What I mean is, for example, living in Nizhny Novgorod or in Moscow, just to get to a restaurant, stop by a bank, or go to a supermarket, it takes half a day. Here, you can get to all of that in an hour.
An hour?
So it's really convenient. And all the infrastructure, the standard of living, it's all there. In fact, it's actually quite high in cities like Sosua.
The infrastructure is developing, everything's being built, roads, stores.
Down south, they're building interchanges, and here it's constant. So in this regard, I would highlight this particular aspect.
And the third point,
I would say probably this place is a paradise for children. Exactly. My son goes to school here. It's a good quality school. Yes, it's not cheap, but still. So I think,
how much does a private school cost?
we pay 10,000 US dollars a year. But here, there are so many opportunities for him. First of all, there are people from all over the world here, so he absorbs cultures from all over the world. He has a friend who's Italian, a friend who's Kazakh, a Russian friend, and of course, a friend from Austria. So you see, there are people here from all over the world. And then, of course, there are sports activities for him here. He plays football, he plays tennis. He also went to different things. He attended theater. He was in a drama club as well. Everything you need for that is here. This place is a paradise for raising children, especially, let's say, up until the upper grades.
Are there a lot of Russian speakers here now?
Yes, there are more Russian speakers, but I would say there are mostly Russian speakers from Canada or the States, not so much those coming directly from Russia.
Now it's slowed down a bit. I recently made a video, and the statistics show that, well, in 2020, they canceled visas, and the tourist flow in 2020 was 250, zero tourists from Russia. But in 2024, well, since flights have been suspended, yes, it's now very difficult to get here from Russia. In 24, almost 10 times. By the way, speaking of news, which keeps coming in, Lavrov was here recently. They opened the consulate,
An embassy.
an embassy, and now there are negotiations underway about opening direct flights from Russia. Apparently, they're promising that direct flights will resume in the next 2 or 3 months.
Well, let's just hope so.
The Dominican Republic is interested in this.
Let's hope so, yes.
We've covered the positive points. Now, name 3 things you dislike the most.
Well, as they say, with the benefits of civilization come some downsides of civilization as well. In this case, I would point out the traffic, meaning car and motorcycle traffic, which is increasing on the roads. Here, and of course, yes, Dominicans, since they're such cheerful, lively people, they drive their motorcycles the same way. So,
The traffic rules here.
aren't really followed much yet. You could say that's both a plus and a minus.
Right, well, that's the first one.
What other downsides are there?
Service, how about that? A lot of people complain that the service isn't really up to European standards.
No, it might not be at the European level, but you just have to understand that here, so you shouldn't expect anything from them. They're friendly. That's what I'd say about them. Their service is just as friendly, very laid back. They don't stress themselves out.
They don't stress at all. The word mañana in the Dominican Republic, just like in Spain, can mean in an hour, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, next week, or even next month, right? But still, if you know what, where, and how, you'll always find the service you need. Car repairs there.
Everything is available there. And in fact, there are even our Russian-Canadian service centers, and there are German service centers as well. The entire infrastructure is in place. As for the drawbacks, well, maybe I would again point out that some government initiatives, for me as a businessman running a business there, are a bit, I would say, leaning to the left. That is, since we come from the Soviet Union and remember what communism is like, we've experienced all of its negative sides. And unfortunately, there are certain things here as well, including what we're talking about regarding the Haitians, right? About the legalization of illegal migrants. This is also a bit concerning because, as I said, it seems to me that they're moving in the wrong direction.
They're overdoing
it. They should be investing more in developing exports, which in principle they're doing. But I think they need to put even more effort into this area because export and construction as well, for that matter, because construction brings in a lot of wealthy people here who in turn spend money, and that's what actually drives the economy forward. That's it.
Healthcare here has always been pretty good, but now it's getting even better.
I would say that for me, for my family, and for my friends, we haven't really had any problems with healthcare. So we live in Sosua, and in Puerto Plata, we have an excellent hospital.
A new hospital.
For more complex surgeries or complicated cases, there's Santiago Homes, and I think it's on a world-class level. It's an excellent hospital. So basically, I mean, I still consider myself young, and I haven't really had any major health issues, but from what I've experienced with the healthcare system so far, I've had a very positive impression. Moreover, just recently, a friend of mine had heart surgery there. I don't know all the details, but everything went perfectly. It was actually quite a complicated operation, and they did it, and everything turned out well.
Listen, one more thing. So we just recently interviewed a software developer in Las Terrenas, Yuri, and during our conversation, he specifically brought up and thoughtfully discussed something quite important regarding children's education. He also has 2 kids, and they go to private schools. And he says that the education up to about 15 or 16 years old, that is secondary education, he says, is absolutely at a good level, and he's completely satisfied with it. But when it comes to universities, he says he hasn't decided what to do yet because, well, at least here in Las Terrenas, there aren't any good universities. So it has to be either Santo Domingo, or he's already considering that it might have to be Canada or America at all. What about Sosua? Are there any universities there, or does that still need to be addressed?
In this case, I agree with him because, as I mentioned earlier, the quality school education here is really only up to the senior grades. As I understand it, it's simply not that easy to find professional teachers for the upper grades. Yes, it seems that this problem has been solved in Santo Domingo. That's it. In our case, well, my child is about to turn 12, so I can't really say yet.
There's still time?
Yes, there's still time to think and see. But, judging by friends and acquaintances, there really is such an opinion. But as a graduate of the University of Chicago, I still think that I will send my son to study in the States.
To America, right?
Because I believe that's where the best education is.
And the local diploma. So if you get a school diploma here, does it count when applying to a university there?
We have American school.
An American one, so
it's recognized. Yes.
The same kind of diploma. Thank you, Maxim. I think our viewers found it very interesting to hear information from someone who has lived here for 20 years and knows the Dominican Republic not as a visitor, but from the inside. Thank you.
You're welcome.